Susan Olivo is, as you all know, I said the executive director of the Reader's Digest Partners for Sight Foundation. She's going to tell you all about them, and I'm sure Reader's Digest is the household word. Very interesting story. Susan's going to share that with us. We're involved in an exciting new collaboration between MBRF and the foundation, and our mission and purpose are perfectly aligned. And I love it when this happens because we join together to help people like all of you who are here today. We're doing it together. Like Terry said, it takes a team. Susan leads national and local grant-making programs. So Reader's Digest Partners for Sight Foundation, long was a mouthful, gives money out. Okay, they're a grant-making organization to programs designed to provide the blind and visually impaired with the tools and resources necessary to lead productive lives. Under Susan's stellar stewardship, and I put that in there, by the way, PFS has grown from a small, localized foundation to being a significant force in the field of low vision and blindness, and they, like I said, provide money and program support benefiting hundreds of thousands of people across the United States. Recently, PFS has had considerable success in funding programs and projects designed to connect people, like all of you, in need with low vision rehab services and in effect change the service delivery paradigm. So we're getting services out to all of you. And not unlike, what our friends do at Sight Loss Services. Sorry, my papers are out of order here. Susan also manages the foundation's large print publishing business with a circulation of over 600,000 subscribers. So those are those books you have in your little bags. Prior to joining PFS, Susan had spent the majority of her career on the corporate side in publishing and direct marketing. She has an MBA in marketing and finance from the University of Chicago and has served as adjunct professor at Mercy College Graduate School of Business. This woman knows what she's doing. Susan is on the board of Philanthropy New York, the New York Area Regional Association of Grantmakers, and has served as project evaluator for the NEI, which is the National Eye Institute, which is the eye part of the NIH. And she's an active volunteer in her community, and she speaks French and Spanish, but I promise you this is in English, right, Susan? And she just recently had an incredible, life-changing safari trip in South Africa, and shared that experience with me, and I just wanted to share that with all of you. So, Susan, without further ado. It's those high-tech things that keep us. Here comes Nikki. We need the youngster in the room.
Should be working.
There we go. All right, good. Thank you, Susan.
Nikki, don't go far, because I'm one of those people that when I touch technology, it just stops working.
Thank you. Okay. Hello?
Can you all hear me? Good, awesome. Okay, so as Dawn said, I'm the executive director of Reader's Digest Partners for Sight Foundation. I'm going to go out on a limb here and make an assumption that everybody knows what Reader's Digest is, right? So does anybody remember the name of the gentleman who started the company, Reader's Digest? DeWitt Wallace, does that name ring a bell? So he got wounded in the war, and he ended up in the hospital for a very long time recuperating. And he had a lot of time on his hands, and he loved to read. So what he did with that recuperation period was he read. And all of a sudden, he got a thought while he's laying there in the hospital bed recuperating. He said, this is great for me, not being in the hospital, but being able to read all of these magazines, these publications. He said, but what about people that don't have this kind of time, recuperating in a hospital? How do busy people going to work, people managing homes, how do they have time to read all this wonderful stuff? boy, wouldn't it be an interesting idea to take the best articles from all of those various magazines, condense them, and put them into one little magazine, and Reader's Digest was born. Okay.
Can you hear her okay?
Okay, much better, right? So anyway, the little magazine was born out of a gentleman recuperating in a veterans hospital because he had so much time on his hands and wanted to share that ability with everybody else. So he said, let's condense all these articles from all different magazines, we'll put them in this one little magazine, and genius, right? Reader's Digest is born. So this whole theme of him loving to read so much, that kind of is going to play out a little bit today in what I have to say, because it turns out that DeWitt Wallace himself had an eye disease. Anybody want to take a guess what it was? Macular degeneration, right? I heard somebody say that. But he felt very strongly that people should be able to read and have access to the written word regardless of what their eyesight condition was. So 60 years ago, so in 1955, he founded what was then known as Reader's Digest Fund for the Blind. And the initial purpose of that organization was to support the Braille edition of Reader's Digest. So we are celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. Over the years then, we became a large print publisher because, again, the thought was people who don't read Braille but can't read standard size print also need something to read. So we became a large print publisher. And as Dawn said, you have samples of those books in your bag. And then further along the timeline, see I'm sort of condensing everything, true to Reader's Digest, we became a grant maker in the field. And we support organizations that provide direct services to people who are blind or visually impaired. So direct services, and we serve anybody from babies to kids to teenagers to working adults to seniors, right? All of the programs that we support. Things like guide dog organizations, things like low vision services that teach people activities of daily living, right? Your daily living skills, adaptive technology, all of those types of services. But we also wanted to do something sort of game-changing in the field. We wanted to make a difference on a larger scale. So we do think that direct services are very, very important. But in addition to that, we said to ourselves, if Reader's Digest, Partners for Sight Foundation, were to disappear tomorrow, would the world be a better place because we were around? And we wanted that answer to be most emphatic, yes, right? So we identified a big problem in the field, and that is the fact that people who have low vision are not very aware of all of the services that exist to help you continue to live independently in your home or continue in your job. So we decided we were going to make a big effort in that field, kind of connecting, as Dawn said before, connecting those people who need the services with the services, right? So let's talk for 1 second. Oh, by the way, we are located in New York, but I grew up in Boston. So I am like the absolute worst possible combination. I got my license in Boston, so I'm a Boston driver, but I have a New York attitude. So when I leave the parking lot later, you all just let me get out, and then you guys can get in your cars. So low vision, right? So if somebody has, there's a big spectrum, right? You're not just sighted or blind. There's a big, big, big spectrum in between there. As you guys with macular degeneration, you probably know that, right? All different levels of blindness. It's very unique to you, right? So what is low vision when I keep talking about that? That's this one, right? This is so dangerous for me because when I'm at home, my husband never lets me use the remote control. I'm just not allowed. So when I go, like, stay at a hotel for a night or something, that's what I do all night long. I just take this remote control and just click it because I feel like I have so much power. It's just the little things in life. Okay, so what is low vision, right? It's a loss of visual function that cannot be corrected by ordinary glasses. So there are approximately, the numbers vary a little bit, 100,000, 200,000 maybe at the most, totally blind people in the United States. There are millions and millions and millions of people who have low vision, right? So it's not a small problem. Why is it that most people don't know where to go for services, right? So what causes low vision? As you know, could be an eye condition like diabetic retinopathy, right, from diabetes, or macular degeneration, could be trauma, whatever. So a lot of times we're in denial, right, about our low vision. Do you guys try to fake it when you go out? Do you not want people to know that you have low vision? But how does it impact you in your daily life, right? You start to lose a little bit of your peripheral vision maybe, and which it affects your mobility. There's reduced contrast sensitivity, your loss of independence, right? But when it really starts affecting you is when it affects your activities of daily living. What do I mean by that? Give me an example.
No driving.
Driving, right? Everybody says that first. Good one. How about something else in your home? Cooking. Cooking's a great one, right? Cooking, reading, sewing, going to the store, right? Any of that stuff. The things that you do every day. When it starts to impact that, we have a real problem. And that's when you need to raise your hand and you need to say, I need help. Now I'm going to speak directly to the men in the room because I know men don't raise their hand and say, I'm lost, I need directions. Right? Women will do that, men will not do that. Men, you need to raise your hands and say, I can't see so well, I need help, right? In New York, of course, after 9/11, the big slogan around New York City was always, if you see something, say something. Do you guys have that up here in Massachusetts? If you see something, say something. Well, my slogan is, if you don't see something, say something. Don't try to hide it. So I have a couple of good friends who have low vision, severe low vision, and they try to hide it from people. And there was this one woman that I met one time, and she, very well-to-do woman, very smart, but she has severe low vision, and she is hiding it from her friends. But what I think is, she thinks she's hiding it from her friends, and she's not. But she tells me funny stories about when, of course, she'll go to a restaurant, she'll walk into the men's room instead of the women's room because she's too embarrassed to ask for help. What she does before she goes to a restaurant is she goes online and she looks up the menu online because she can read it on the computer, and she memorizes it so that when she goes to the restaurant she can pretend that she's reading the menu, and then she can discuss the menu with her friends so they think she's reading it, until the day that all her friends were looking at her kind of funny and they said, Evie, why are you holding the menu upside down? Can you read it upside down? So she was caught out, and that's what I mean. I think she thinks she's fooling people. I have another friend, Carol, she's very, very funny. She was telling me about the time she was looking for her knee highs. Ladies, you know what knee highs, the nylons that just go up to your knees, and you know what they look like, right, when they're sort of crumpled in a ball? And she could have sworn that her dog probably took them. And so then she saw them laying on the floor. They're this little pile of brown things that she thought were her knee highs. She went to pick them up and picked up a big handful of dog poop. Okay? So I said, Carol, do you think it's time for you to get a pair of glasses or raise your hand and say, I need some help. I don't see as well as I used to see, right? Love that woman. Okay, so another problem with low vision is depression. Okay? And I will talk here to the people who might be living with people who have low vision. Have you noticed that in your spouse or in a sibling, right? They get depressed because they get withdrawn. They're not socializing enough. And it's due mostly to the fact, to the stress and frustration, because you feel like you're losing control. You're losing your ability to function. I want you to remember that word. So when Dawn said before, remember like one or two things from today, I'm going to come back to this word function, right? I want you to remember that because we're going to talk about the functionality of your vision. Okay, functional vision, right? Acuity, which is the sharpness of your vision, versus utility, how you use your vision. And this becomes important because I know everybody's going to tell you the number one thing you should do is go see your eye doctor. And of course you should do that. But when you go see your eye doctor next time, I want you to make sure to tell your eye doctor, him or her, how you are using your vision. Because your doctor is going to be focused on the medical aspect of your eye, right? So, how the eyes function on the left-hand side, and how the person functions. Because that's what you're interested in, is how it's affecting your ability every day to do the things you want to do, right? So what detail can be seen, what tasks can be performed. So on the left-hand side, right, is the doctor, and on the right-hand side is you. It's how you use your vision, okay? okay? The doctor obviously is gonna make you look at the eye chart, take all kinds of tests. The doctor's gonna talk to you about the tissue, the organ, the acuity, the field, the contrast. She's really concerned about how the eye functions. And that's great, because that person's gonna help you medically. But again, what you're concerned about is how you function as a person and how you function in a society and how your eyesight is necessary to that, okay? But this is pretty fancy, Nikki. So, aspects of visual functioning, again, on the left side, the doctor. So the doctor's going to be telling you all this stuff about your acuity and your vision and what we're going to do for you. And the patient is just going to say, but doctor, I cannot read, right? Doctor, I'm having a hard time driving at night because of the glare, right? So you need to have a conversation with your doctor, and I'm going to show you a little film clip first, and then we're going to talk about when you have that conversation with your doctor, where you want that conversation to go, okay? I want you guys to metaphorically drive the bus on this one. So I'll tell you one quick thing about this film clip you're going to see. A number of years ago, a film producer in New York City, he's losing his eyesight to glaucoma. He approached us for funding for a documentary. And, you know, in my great wisdom, I said, no, we don't fund films. Long story short, again, condensed, we did end up funding the film, and it's probably been one of the best things that we've ever funded, from getting the message out there to doctors and to patients to make that connection to low vision services. But I'm just going to show you a 3-minute clip from the film. What you'll see first is Joe Lovett, the film producer. At this time, which was probably in 2008 or 9, he was still driving. I don't think he's driving anymore. He's driving in his car, and he's on his way to see Peter. And Peter is an architect, and he has macular degeneration.
Thank you.
Today, I'm driving to New Jersey to meet with architect Peter Delia. At 85, Peter cares very much about keeping vision in his later years.
This is built in Burnersville.
Peter has AMD. That stands for age-related macular degeneration. AMD is the leading cause of blindness in the developed world. Because we are living longer, the number of Americans with AMD is expected to double in the next 10 years. The macula is a small area of the retina, located near the optic nerve at the back of the eye. It is responsible for our central, most acute vision. In patients with what is called wet age-related macular degeneration, blood vessels grow under the macula. They leak and scar, causing gradual vision loss. 10 years ago is when Peter lost the vision in his right eye. You've lost almost all your vision, right?
Central vision. I can see all around, but if I were to close this left eye, I can't see now. You're just a blob.
But just a year ago, Peter noticed problems in his left eye.
How did you first notice that there was something wrong?
I couldn't see a golf ball. I'd have an idea which direction it was going, but I didn't know where the hell it went. I became very frustrated, I really did. Because I wanted to read. I couldn't even read a book.
He was quite upset, wondering what he would do, how he would ever continue drawing if he kept losing his sight like this, and you know what would happen to him.
Mr. Delia, I'm just going to go over some of the photographs with you.
Dr. Ronald Gentili is Peter's ophthalmologist. He's been treating macular degeneration for over 10 years.
10 years ago, our options in terms of treatment were limited, and it was very rare that we had a patient actually improve in vision.
But a lot has changed in 10 years. New drugs called anti-VEGF were found to stop the blood vessel growth that causes wet age-related macular degeneration.
This newer treatment, we may be able to actually improve your vision and truly stabilize your vision and get you functioning.
That's quite revolutionary, isn't it?
Yes.
The drug to stop the blood vessel damage is injected directly into Peter's eye.
I woke up the next morning, I'd be able to read the newspaper, and I could draw.
Not since cataract replacements and corneal transplants have but doctors actually been able to reverse blindness.
Some people say to you, why are you still working at your age? You should be enjoying life.
I just in love with architecture.
And I think you're probably in the vanguard of the new generation of aging people who enjoy what they do and want to keep on doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that was just a very small part of the film. In the film, he concentrates on about 5 different blinding situations like diabetic retinopathy, retinitis pigmentosa, albinism, all very interesting stories. And as you could see, what Peter was dealing with here, and what I love about Macular Vision Research Foundation, right? We're looking for a cure, right? Things are out there that can help. But the cure may be, I don't know, 5, 10, 20 years down the road. So the big question is, what do we do in the meantime, right? Doctor, what do I do in the meantime because I can't read anymore? So I'm going to talk about vision rehab services, vision rehabilitation, right? So a little bit of this terminology may be sort of counterintuitive. I mentioned this to my mom because she has diabetic retinopathy, and I said, Mom, I'm going to take you for some vision rehabilitation services. And she said, oh no, my vision can't be rehabilitated. So there's sort of like that little problem with the wording there. But basically what those services are is it helps you make the most of the vision that you do have so that you can continue to do the things you enjoy doing, but you may have to modify how you do them. And the people who are trained VRTs, vision rehab therapists, or sometimes occupational therapists who have been trained in this field, they will teach you how to do this. So it's a very simple, the analogy that I like to make is if you fell and broke your hip, you would go to the orthopedic surgeon. And he or she would fix you up, and then one of the first things they would do is hand you a prescription and send you to what? A physical therapist, right? That same relationship should work in the vision field. And it's not quite perfected yet, right? The ophthalmologist should do what they do to help you medically, but then they should say to you, you should also see a vision rehab therapist because that person will help you to continue to maximize the vision that you do have, right? And one really important thing about vision rehab services is that they have done studies to show that people who receive these services have lower incidence of depression. So what are the components of vision rehab? You'll get a low vision examination, which is a much more detailed exam than going to see generally an ophthalmologist. It takes more time. Most often, but not always, the low vision doctor is an optometrist, but that is not exclusive. There are many wonderful low vision ophthalmologists, right? They will teach you independent living skills. How do I continue to do those activities of daily living that I like to do, like cook or whatever? And they will counsel you, and they'll also teach you about adaptive technology. Computers, don't be scared by computers, people. They will help you keep in touch with the world, and they're very easy to master. A low vision examination is not your regular eye exam, right? Like I said, it will be much more detailed. The doctor may also prescribe devices for you, and this is really important. What I don't want you to do is just go online and order a magnifying glass or walk into a pharmacy and pick up a magnifying glass. You need to try them. You need to, I think Charlie's going to talk a little bit about that later, but like these devices can be expensive, but they can really help you. You want to make sure you get the right one for you, right? Don't be afraid to ask for help. Raise your hand and say, I don't see very well anymore. You can make simple adaptations in your home. Some of this stuff is just common sense, right? Why would you not do it? Examine your everyday environment carefully and make the changes to your surroundings that will help you feel safer and more in control despite your vision loss. So that would be called an environmental assessment. Go back to your homes, to your apartments, and look around and say, what can I do in this place? And this is all common sense. Ask yourself these questions. How does my vision loss affect my everyday activities? What safety issues should I consider? Certainly make sure there's not stuff all over the floor that you're going to trip over, right? What types of everyday activities do I need to perform? Do I cook a lot? How can I make that easier? What kinds of simple solutions can I put into place on my own? Again, common sense, simple, inexpensive, and what adaptations should I consider if I have maybe another disability besides vision loss, right? So basic principles, really simple. Remember these 5 things? Improve visibility. I'm going to come back to this one because I think it's one of the most important. Get organized. Use your other senses. Use labels. Inexpensive, right? And just remember, safety first. That's what I meant by like picking things up off the floor. Arrange your furniture so that you're not tripping on it. So when I say that contrast is key, what do I mean about that? This is my opinion, and I have seen this with my mom and other people. Contrast. Look at the sign over here. See the black on white? Like, Dawn is very smart to do that because you would be, well, maybe you wouldn't be surprised. You know when you go to a grocery store or whatever, you see packaging and there's no contrast. It might be light blue on a dark blue background. Who can see that, right? When you go to a restaurant, you pick up a menu. There might be a yellow colored paper in the back with light type on it. There's no contrast, right? Contrast really, really makes a difference, and you can interweave that in your design in your home. So take a look at this picture, right? This cute little dog happens to be my dog. On this picture, you probably can't even see that that is a white dog on a white blanket. There is no contrast there, right? But the picture on the other side, right? White dog on a dark background. You can even probably see the blue, the bright leash in the back, right? That's Ziggy. She's adorable. So what does Ziggy have to do with what I'm trying to say today? How about this? Let's talk about staircases quickly. Staircases, one of the most dangerous things for us as we age, right? Look at this one over here on your left. Can anybody see the difference in those stairs? Can you imagine how difficult that is to walk down? Look at the one on the right. It's beautiful carpeting, but there's no contrast. You can't see the edge of the step or anything like that. Is that what the stairs look like in your home or in your building, right? Very, very dangerous and difficult to see. How about this one? Look at that contrast, right? A simple adaptation, the white stripe on the dark step. And even look at the handles. The dark red handle on the white wall. That's what I mean by contrast. And you can apply that to everything in your home. Get a cutting board when you cook, black on one side, white on the other. And when you cut a white onion, do it on the black side. And when you cut something dark, do it on the white side, right? Don't have white plates on a white placemat. Simple, right? Simple and inexpensive. So, last slide, helpful resources. Attend events like this, support site. That's what I love about Dawn so much, because they're all about research, and I think that's so important, but she takes the extra step and she says, in the meantime, we're gonna tell people what to do and how to help themselves, right? There's a wonderful internet site called Vision Aware, and they have something called the Getting Started Kit. If you're new to vision loss, it'll tell you how to make these simple adaptations to your home, etc. Oh, great, you can link right there from Dawn's site to Vision Aware. The woman who is the trained vision rehab therapist for Vision Aware, she just is updating the book called Making Life More Livable, Simple Adaptations for Living at Home After Vision Loss. It's distributed by the AFB Press. I'm not making a plug for it. It won't be available for another month or so, but I just put that as an example of something you could get. There's a great organization called Ears for Eyes that provides free audio lessons on how to adapt your home for visually impaired people. The Hadley School has now brand new, low vision focus at Hadley. All kinds of courses for you to take online, all free, right? And all about how do I cope with low vision. You can watch the rest of the film, Going Blind, which is pretty cool. You can go visit Charlie's store. He's going to talk to you a little bit about that. Vision Dynamics, by far the best low vision store I have ever seen. And then there's organizations, very, very important, like your neighborhood community services, like Sight Loss Services. Thank you very much.
Good stuff, huh? Yeah, and I know for sure, yes, let's clap again. I think that's a good idea. Susan is awesome. Very passionate and very knowledgeable, and keeps it simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. Your lives are complicated enough. let alone make it easy for yourself and the people you love. Speaking of people I love, the next person on deck is Charlie Collins, and I call Charlie my new BFF, but I think I can take new out of that, right, Charlie? Because we've known each other for over a year. Yes. Charlie is a great friend and champion of Macular Vision Research Foundation. He is Chief Marketing Officer at Optelec US. All these wonderful products that you've been looking at, and if you haven't, please do. They're here to help you. It's no pressure to buy. We just want to bring them to you so you can see them. Like Susan said, don't go to Kmart. I saw one on the way here. They don't have what you need. It's a waste of your money. It's going to frustrate you because it's not going to help. These people have what you need. Charlie also is founder of Vision Dynamics, as Susan mentioned, and I haven't seen the store yet, but I think we're going to do that on our way back to Philadelphia, right, Charlie? So I'm anxious to do that. He is a well-respected and, like I said, well-loved international motivational speaker and a certified personal success coach. He's a published author. We have the books with us, Tripping into the Light. And what I love best about Charlie is that he empowers and inspires people to live a life with clear vision. And he's all about removing the blocks in our lives. Again, echoing what Susan said, you see how this is all connected to the big picture. But removing the blocks in our lives and helping us to fulfill life's true purpose. That's what it's about. Charlie?
Thank you. Did you know the number one thing that limits a blind person is their vision? Did you know the number one thing that limits a sighted person is their vision? Where there is no vision, people perish. Can anyone tell me, please holler it out, what is the number one cause of blindness? Okay, well, usually I'll hear diabetic retinopathy, glaucoma, cataracts, macular degeneration, and those are all really good answers, but they're all wrong. I found that the number one cause of blindness is thinking. The most pathetic person in the world is someone who has sight, but has no vision. That's a quote from Helen Keller. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, we become what we think about all day long. I believe that no matter what type of vision impairment you may have, or other struggles you are facing, there is hope, and there is a solution for you. How do I know this? In 3rd grade, I was pulled out of the classroom by the school nurse. I was sat out in the hallway with the special education teacher, and they put me through a bunch of tests. The last test was the eye test, and I didn't do so well on the lowest line of the chart. And they said, stop fooling around, come on, tell us what it is. It's obvious he has some other challenges. Well, there was some sort of mystery going on in my family at that time. This was in the mid-70s or so, and what was going on was my older brother and sister were also kind of struggling in school. So we went to psychiatrists, we went to eye doctors, we went to learning places to try to find out what our problem was. And luckily, we went to an eye doctor that said, there's something going on, but I need you to go to this place. So what we did was, all 8 of us, I have 4 sisters and 1 brother, and my parents and I, we jumped in the old big, long, green Plymouth station wagon with wood paneling on the side. Had the rear seat facing the cars coming at you. And we headed up to Mass Eye and Ear. And after 2 long, grueling days of eye tests, the doctor came in and sat down with us. And he said, I'm sorry. 4 out of the 6 children have a rare eye disorder called juvenile macular degeneration. I was 9. We continued going back to that hospital for over 1.5 years as a family, all 8 of us. Now, believe me, I liked it. I got out of school. I got to go to a pool. Got to go do something with my family. But at the end, the last meeting we had at Mass Eye and Ear with the doctors, what the outcome was not what I thought. They said, thank you for your services, but there's nothing we can do. There's no pill, there's no pair of glasses. We can't help you. They also handed us a sheet of paper that had all the things we weren't allowed to do in life. Kind of watch out so we wouldn't get hurt and in trouble. My mother threw that piece of paper out on the way out of the office. But I got to tell you, in that moment of that news, you can relate. Those of you who have sat in the chair and the doctor came back and said, you got macular degeneration, you got diabetic, whatever the name of it is, that feeling. I went back to school, went back to my life, and my self-esteem was hit hard. Because I was hitting. So picture this. You're 13 years old. You go into school one day. As I walk in the front door and I turn to go down the hallway towards my locker, I notice all the faces around me. They're really disappearing. I can see movement, but I can't make out detail. I work my way towards the classroom. I get in, I sit down, maybe in the second row. The teacher's writing on the chalkboard. You know that sound? And I know, I can see the movement, and I can tell white is appearing on the board, but I can't read the print. I look down because they tell us to open our books. Now I'm looking in the book, and I'm really struggling to see the print. I moved from there into gym class. Time to pick your teams. I got picked last that day. Because they know now, the kids, something's wrong with me. I haven't come out and said I have a vision impairment, but they can tell. And they're brutal at that age. I go home, my head is now hung low. I walk in that home, and my mother hollers out, how was school? Fine. Same thing my kids said. She said, there's a piece of mail for you on the counter. Mail? I don't get mail. I'm 13. It's a big piece of mail, too. I was so excited. I walked over to that piece of mail, and it was a big envelope. Well, I ripped it open, and I slid out. A bunch of stuff fell, but a big piece of paper came out of this envelope. And you know what it was? It said, State of Connecticut, you have been declared legally blind. It was my certificate of blindness at age 13. At least I'm grateful today I wasn't declared illegally blind. For the next 10 years, my life struggled. Why? Because God shouldn't have done this to me. My parents shouldn't have done this. The doctor should get a clue and learn how to fix me. This isn't fair. Why me? I can barely make it through school. I'm never going to be able to drive a car. I'm never going to be able to get a girlfriend. I'm never going to be able to get a good job. What's the sense anyway? Thoughts of suicide were common. I struggled to get out of high school. I went to college. Do you know that my guidance counselor in high school, after sitting down with me, he agreed that it would be a good idea if I didn't go to college. Because I sold him on the idea, dumb blind people don't go to college. Why would you ever make me do that? Now, I have an older brother and sister who are doing just fine in college blind, legally blind. Stop doing that, because it's making it harder for me to play the for me road. So I failed out of college 3 times, but I didn't. I feared out of college. I'll bring you to 10 years of that journey were painful, very difficult. I looked everywhere for happiness, couldn't find it. I did a bunch of odd jobs, right? And I was cutting the lawn at a motorcycle dealership. I could cut grass, I could weed gardens, I could build tennis courts, I could do a lot of things because they were big. But every day I had that thought that maybe I couldn't do something else. So I cut the grass at this motorcycle dealership and I'm done. And up until that point, you know what I focused on? I focused on what the past was, what the problem was, and how the future wasn't looking so bright. That's what I focused on. Well, Jimbo came out. He was the owner of the motorcycle dealership. He was a long-bearded ZZ Top looking dude. You guys get ZZ Top? Some of you? I'm sure you're shaking your heads, but I can't see it. I feel it. So anyway, wanted to ask me a question. Why would he want to talk to me? Because he probably wants to fire me for not doing a perfect job on the lawn. He probably wants to tell me he's all set he's going to find somebody that can see better. But what he asked me was, I was wondering if you would want to work here. What? Me? The legally blind dumb guy work here? How does he know? I would love to. I went home that night, that afternoon. I rushed home and I told my mother. She thought it was fantastic. Now, I have been riding motorcycles, motocross motorcycles, in the woods a lot, and racing, and having a blast. And I knew them inside and out, and all this wonderful stuff. But man, when I was faced with a decision that was helping me, that was going to help push me and step me out of my comfort zone, I got scared. I tell my mother, and she says, that would be wonderful, you should do that. Oh, stop, you're just saying that, you're my mother. Well, I went to bed that night. You know, this bed that I had laid in for years, this bed I lied in and cried myself to sleep. This bed that I lied in, and I looked up to that higher power and I said, please, tonight would be a good night to take. Not this night. Not this night. This night I slept well. I got up in the morning and I went up to that motorcycle dealership and I stormed in there and I went up to Jimbo and I said, Jim, I'll take the job, but I gotta let you know something. Gotta let you know. I never tell people this, but I'm legally blind and I'm gonna need some tools to help me around here. Now, I've never used one of them, but I know I'm gonna to do this job. He said, I know. I know you have something going on with your eyes. You ain't hiding it. Susan said that. He said, but I believe in you. You're passionate. You can do this. Okay. So it was, I can't. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Yes, I can. No, I can't. Finally, thankfully, I surrendered a little bit to my eye disease. And I asked for help. Remember Fonzie? Oh, he couldn't say he was sorry or ask for help. I related to that. I could never ask for help. That would mean I'm a loser. So I got my first Optelec machine, my first Optelec reading machine. They brought it in and put it in my office. What did that enable me to do? It enabled me to read magazines, printed materials. I could write. My brain was dormant at that point. I learned how to use a computer with large print. I learned how to use a pocket magnifier. I learned how to make the best of the environment, the situation of my life in order to help me move forward. Do you know what happened? I repainted that whole business. I hung all big print signs all around it. And it did so well for the customers, sales started growing. Now, I didn't do it for them, I did it for me. And it benefited everybody. Within 3 short years, I became the vice president and a part owner of a multi-million-dollar motorcycle corporation. Because I finally made a decision and took action. Pretty cool, huh? But wait, there's more. Susan touched on this. During that whole position, I did not talk about having an eye condition. You see, I am not legally blind. I have legal blindness. But back then, I thought that's who I was, legally blind, and that's a yucky thing. Okay? That's not who I am. I might have some legal blindness. But in that time at that motorcycle dealership, I never once shared it. But we eccentrically view. I use my peripheral vision. So when I would talk to you, my eyes would veer off, and you would think I was looking at someone behind you. But as this progressed, it started happening more and more. Maybe because I got some more drusen's, I don't know. But people used to look off over their shoulder and say, hey dude, I'm right here. And that hurt. Hey dude, I know I'm talking to you, I'm just looking at you through my peripheral vision. I have a disease called macular degeneration. He doesn't want to know that. He just wants the best deal on a motorcycle. It became very difficult. I became a closet blind guy. And eventually I burned and crashed. I started resenting, focusing on the problem, and my depression came back big time. That wasn't the job for me anymore. So I moved out of that, and I took a breather. And I thought, one day, what can I do? Well, you know, I knew the transformation that happened to me in the motorcycle business because I actually started reading and writing and doing things and accepting help. I want to teach others how to do that. So, as you heard, I created a space for people to come in and put their hands on products 19 years ago. Yeah. Get there.
It's a joke.
Yes. She asked if I could see her, and I could have lied. I said, no, but my peripheral vision does. I can even see the edge of this. So, we're going to do a quick exercise. We're running out of time, but I wanted to tell you that I made use of what my challenge was, and I turned it into a place and a business to help others. And I get to fly around the country, and I get to do these talks and share my success story, which is your success story in the long run. But I really need to do a quick little thing because it anchors in something called a comfort zone, a habitual comfort zone, where I had gotten in my life and suffering became comfortable, which is sad. I don't want anyone to do that because the brain will go into atrophy, right? If you don't use it, if you don't engage it, if you don't read, do puzzles and do crafts and make the best of what you got. I heard maximize your remaining vision. Well, we don't see with our eyes, we see with our brain. And all vision is done on the brain. And we're here to help you. We're here to offer you the right tools to get you to that point. So I just quickly want you all to fold your hands. For those of you who can't see me, I'm folding. Have someone next to you show you, please.
Like you're praying.
Like you're praying. Is everyone folding their hands out in front of them?
Everybody doing it. This is important.
This is very important. Is everyone folding their hands in front of them? If you can't see what I'm doing, have someone show you. All right. Everyone doing that?
Pretty much.
Those who aren't, we have sessions later. Denial ain't just the river. So, I want to ask everyone with their left thumb on top, please raise your hand high.
Your left thumb is on top.
If your your thumb was on top of your right thumb, then you raise your hand. Guess what? You guys are the better thinkers in the group. All right. Now I need the people with their right thumbs on top to please raise their hands high. All right, all you right thumbers, you guys are the sexier ones. Anybody have two thumbs side by side? Come on, let's be honest. Any hands up? Well, if there were people that folded that had their thumbs side by side, they just think they're sexy. So we're safe here. So, I want you to pull out your hands apart, and I want you to switch thumbs. If you were a left thumber, put your right thumb on top. Put it together now.
Do the opposite of what
Do the opposite. How does that feel?
Not comfortable.
Yucky, uncomfortable, weird.
Right.
Okay. Now pull it apart and put it back to your old way. Ah, back to my comfort zone. So I just want to make a quick point. With lack of vision, I shouldn't say that, with low vision, with any type of eye disease that you don't get treated, and as in treated as in your mindset, not the doctor's side. The part where you start thinking this is the way it's going to be, and it's okay that I can't read, it's okay that I can't see my mail. I have people come to me and say, I just don't read anymore. Why? And they better not tell me they can't, because that doesn't go well with me. Because they've gotten so used to it, it's become their comfort zone. But I'm here to challenge you. I don't want that to happen to you, because it will be comfortable. Step outside that. Take that hand, put it in the uncomfortable. Ask for help. Start sharing your problem with it. It's not a problem. Share, hey, I have macular degeneration, but I'm still a great person. I do things differently. I still want to go to lunch. And when I come to the table, please announce yourself. There's so many things you could do to improve the quality of your life, starting now. And you could do this hand exercise with your friends and have fun. Help move people from where they are to where they want to be in life. Thank you.